Hi, I'm Amy Shannon, and recently I put together a cookbook called the Community Cookbook Recipes Foraged from the Pantry. It is something that I pulled together based off of the typical boxes or bags that someone may get at food pantries or their local church um, or food banks, anything like that. There are a lot of places, church, Salvation Armies, um, and other groups that help provide food to those in need. Um, and even if it doesn't matter if you are living paycheck to paycheck, it doesn't matter if you have SNAP benefits. SNAP benefits technically are based off of several um, there's several criteria based off of it, and then people put it in a computer, and then it says, oh, this is how much you're allowed to have. And usually um, that is only enough for 3 weeks. But with rising prices of groceries and other benefits not rising, and wages stay the same, people are living paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes people have to decide what bill they need to pay. Should they pay rent? Should they pay electricity? Or should they buy food? And no one should have to make that decision. Um, rent or food. I mean, it happens. Um, I grew up poor. Um, my mother was very creative with the ingredients that she had and that we could afford. We ate a lot of chicken and she did a lot of things with ground beef. Any snacks or treats she made, whether she baked them or threw them together. So we would have snacks and things like that. If we ever had soda, it was a treat. Um, and it was very rare. um, and a lot of times our snacks were peanut butter on the spoon, peanut butter and crackers, or crackers with onion soup mix and sour cream together. Um, so much that I even showed my kids how to make it, and I called it cracker dip because it just always reminded me of my dad dipping saltines into that dip. He had his own bowl, and we had a separate one. Um, but we always had food on the table. My mom knew how to be creative, and she knew how to make things stretch. And I grew up in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, and there was a lot of reliance on, using canned soup to enhance a meal. And I still do some of that stuff today. I've been watching these YouTube videos on the history of food and things people ate in the Depression and during World War II, where people had to ration and and survive. Um, and unfortunately, they call it food insecurity now. And before, it was just you were poor, you were at poverty level. Um, but they also things that we may take for granted now or buy. I mean, people would go out in their backyard just before the dandelions bloomed and picked the greens, the young ones, and then they would wash them several times, and then they would saute them and add them to their meals. Now they are considered a weed unless you go to the grocery store or the farmer's market and you see dandelion greens. They're the same thing that you pick out of your yard, um, and that you spray weed killer on. Native Americans used to use the dandelions to make tea. Maybe they still do, I don't know. Um, there are a lot of there's a lot of waste, and as I've been watching these various videos, um, there's a bunch of subscriptions and everything. So, uh, different videos, and some are collaborations. And it reminds me of the food that my mom cooked, even when it's, something simple from, um, you know, the Depression. My mom didn't grow up in the Depression. She didn't, she was born in 52, so she wasn't around in World War II. But some of the there were fads and trends and things that stopped being important, and um, companies make these convenience meals, and it's perfectly fine. Um, not I don't like a lot of canned vegetables, but there are a bunch that I do like, and they're simple, and I don't have to worry about them going bad before I get to eat them. And something that I learned, and I was trying it out just to see, and I was I wanted there were times at the end of the month, maybe I want some mac and cheese. And I mean, just like my mom would do, I would make a cheese sauce. And if it's just for me, I don't bother baking it. But if it's for me and my family, then I'll bake it. But I was making a cheese sauce, and then I go in to get milk in the refrigerator, and it's been sitting there for half a month, and it's no longer good. And watching these videos, I learned that I completely had forgotten, not even thought about it, was evaporated milk. That is shelf stable. It'll stay uh, in your pantry until you open it. And once you open it, you have, I think I left mine in for about a week, and then I used it, so I don't know how much longer it would have stayed good. But I made 2 meals with 1 can of evaporated milk. One was a cheese sauce, and the cheese sauce just added, instead of regular milk, I used the half a can of evaporated milk, and added cheese and all the stuff that I make the cheese sauce with. And it was better than if I just used regular milk. It was creamier and it tasted better. And I didn't have to worry about the milk going bad and me having to go out, and because that's difficult for me to always go to the store. I can't always do that. And it actually came out better than if I had used, like I said, regular milk. Um, the other one I did was I saw on a YouTube video on how to make a hamburger gravy or ground beef gravy. And I also learned how to make tomato gravy. And so what I did was kind of combine the two, and basically you ground beef, and you don't drain it unless it's overly fatty and you add a lot of grease. Add a little flour, a little cream, or a little evaporated milk, 'cause that's what I did, and stirred it up and started thickening. And then I threw in some I take a can of diced tomatoes and I food process them. And then I put them in the pan with the ground beef, mixed it all together, and then I used refrigerated dough biscuits and baked them, and then served the gravy right on top. It was very filling. There are a lot of things that, just because they're simple, people don't think about. In a world where celebrity chefs are, and I have no problem with celebrity chefs. I watch the Food Network all the time, and learn different techniques and flavor combinations. But I also learned that I can see what kind of flavors I like for myself. I think it's important to know your ingredients and how to use them. Um, and I just want, if you don't have much, you can still get something. Um, this was years ago, but when my kids were little, there were times when I needed to make dinner for under $10 because I only had $10 to spend for dinner that night. And when I think about that now, I probably wouldn't, even if it was just pasta with a little bit of meat and sauce, it was a meal. Um, I made American goulash, which my mom taught me how to make. And my kids still make that for themselves. They love it. It's just sauce, pasta, and ground beef and seasonings and whatever else you want to throw in it. So that's it's different from Hungarian goulash, but it's American goulash, and some people call it something else, and some people make it differently, with not necessarily sauce, but maybe canned tomatoes, crushed, whatever you want, whatever you have. Um, the one thing I know what it's like to be afraid that you won't have enough money for food for your family. I know what it's like to sit at social services all day to wait to see if you could get benefits so you could feed your family. Um, I know what it's like to stand in line at food pantries waiting for your turn, getting your free milk carts and bags of ingredients. And sometimes you were lucky and able to get some fresh vegetables. But there are times when, if it's already packed, you don't know all the ingredients that you have. And sometimes you don't know what to do with certain ingredients. But in the cookbook I put together, I did some research to find the most common types of foods that you could possibly find in a food pantry box or bag or whatever they give you your food in, and make something out of it. Um, make something different from what it is. I've also learned that from growing up, there was a lot of things that as a kid I didn't like because we had a lot of canned vegetables and I didn't think I liked them because we only ate from the can. And it wasn't until I started trying fresh vegetables or vegetables in a way that I cooked differently. And and I didn't like it as a kid, but now I do like it. I like sweet potatoes, but I don't like them with the sweetness, the brown sugar, and the marshmallows. But if I make them as if I was making any pureed or mashed vegetable with just butter, salt, and pepper, I like them. So sometimes you might not like something, but you might not like it just because of the way it was prepared, or if it came from a can as opposed to being fresh or frozen. Um, but sometimes you have to deal with what you have. I also have tips in this cookbook on how to get rid of some of the canned flavor taste. I mean, if the vegetable comes out mushy, it's mushy, but you might be able to use those vegetables to make a broth, because I've done that too. Like I don't like um, cooked carrots. I like them raw. I don't like cooked peppers. I like them raw. Green bean, same thing. But when I was getting canned vegetables, I was mixing them with a little bit of bouillon and having them boil, maybe throw some meat bones in there. And I made a vegetable broth from that. And then I was able to make soups and also add them to maybe a roast chicken, add a little bit of the broth to that. So not everything has to go to waste. You could rinse off the vegetables, get that canned taste out of there, and then you could cook them together and make, like I said, a broth or a soup, uh, something hearty. Anyway, um, if you are watching this, you can go to my website, essenceenterprisesus.com, and look for the tab that says Food History and Community, and you'll be able to download a free copy of this cookbook. I've also let food pantries know so they can download it and give it to people in need, and hopefully it could help people at least know how to cook their next meal. So this has been Amy Shannon. Thank you very much. And food pantries, if you're able to, they need your support. Thank you very much.